I found a guy calling himself Dr. Dino. I'm not sure just what his doctorate is in, but it's definitely not science because this video is titled Evolution is Dumb and Dangerous. A lot of this is reading off Bible verses, so I'm gonna skip right to the part where it actually talks about science.
Appreciate that. Dominic, this is the one I want to get to. Well, comment, Joseph, on one of the channels, I forget, we're on a bunch of stuff. Dominic said, you should learn about crystal formation and seeding. Oh, okay. I taught earth science. I love that kind of stuff. You're saying it must be God because you can't understand. Simple chemicals and minerals grow all the time around us in much less energetic environments than primordial Earth. Anything capable of reproduction, aka causing more of itself to exist, is capable of evolution. It's pretty complicated, Dominic. Just reproduction the way anything. Get my series, Making Babies. I go through all kinds of different animals and plants and explain in detail how they make babies and say, would you please explain how this complex process evolved step by step? No.
Well, immediately we have a misrepresentation of what the commenter was saying. Sexual reproduction in modern life forms is indeed complicated, requiring many specialized structures and biological processes, but that's not the case for molecules, which is pretty clearly what the comment is referring to. Despite that, there are answers for Mr. Hovind's questions, because we have many scientific studies on the particulars of how reproduction in living creatures has developed and specialized over time. I'd be very interested to hear just how these hundreds upon hundreds of studies are dumb and dangerous.
Nobody answered any of them, Joseph. Okay, let's see. Here's Dominic. Oh, and that's his, what do you call it, Facebook page or something? Yeah, looks like it. What's it say at the bottom? Basic something. What is that symbol? Six. Oh, okay. 666. Okay. Dominic, you said, talk to you just for a minute, Dominic. I'll try to help you out here, okay? Here's what the European Space Agency says. Time, space, and matter began in a fraction of a second. The universe grew from smaller than a single atom to bigger than a galaxy. This is what they're saying. Well, they call that the Big Bang.
It seems Mr. Hovind has never run a radio show because he just left a bunch of awkward dead air there. Anyway, the rapid expansion of the universe referred to in the source he shows is not, in fact, called the Big Bang. This is cosmic inflation, a model of the changing size of the universe after its initial state, which solved problems with the original Big Bang model. Cosmic inflation is closer to what many non-scientists' visualization of the Big Bang might be, but it is a separate group of hypotheses, and anyone looking to teach science should take care to point these differences out.
Universe at the early stages, we can describe the size of it. It can be no smaller than roughly the size of a human being. A little better than a dot, smaller than an atom, okay? Some people say no smaller than a soccer ball. The whole thing is stupid, real stupid, okay? Big Bang was the moment 13.8 billion years ago when the universe began as a tiny, dense fireball that exploded. Wow, what caused this explosion is a mystery. Okay, this is from American Museum of Natural History. That'd be, peer-reviewed?
What Mr. Hovind appears to be reading off of, and perhaps he just doesn't appreciate the distinction of, are summaries of the contents of web pages. It's very misleading to try and judge scientific hypotheses from sources made to simplistically communicate them to everyday people, and it's even worse to do so based on machine summarizations of those watered-down sources. If Mr. Hovind wants his incredulity with the Big Bang model to be taken with even a hint of seriousness, he needs to criticize actual study reports from the scientists themselves on the topic.
Big Bang Theory states, the universe formed in a single event which all matter and energy suddenly expanded from an extremely small point. The point is called a singularity. Is thought to have been infinitesimal, infinitely dense, and infinitely hot. These people do not understand the meaning of the word infinitely.
Well, Mr. Hovind, I'm afraid that the wording of a high school textbook is not a proper source for the state of the current scientific field you're attempting to besmirch. Given the model of the universe provided by general relativity, attempts to calculate the size and energy density of the universe at the time 13.8 billion years in the past yield results of infinite temperature, infinite density, and infinitesimal size. These results have been taken as an indication that our current understanding of the nature of the universe is incomplete. Nevertheless, as a surface level explanation of the event, infinite heat is a fine communication of the approximate conditions at the time.
Let's see. It is thought to have been smaller than a single atom and made of pure energy. One of the biggest mysteries of the universe is how the entire universe inflated at an extremely high rate from a point smaller than a single atom to the size of a baseball, almost instantaneously. This mystery continues to plague scientists, but the laws of physics do not allow for such an event. I agree, it's physically impossible.
Rather bold of Mr. Hovind to misread text that is right in front of the viewer's face and then proceed to agree with the misreading. I don't see the word not in that last sentence, precisely because physics does allow for cosmic inflation.
How about this one? From SciTech Daily. How did matter come from nothing? Good question. Let's see. There came into existence around 1/10,000th of a second after the Big Bang. Before that point, there was really no material in any familiar sense of the word. Space.com. What is the Big Bang Theory? Big Bang Theory is the leading explanation for how the universe began. Simply put, it says the universe as we know it started from an infinitely hot and dense single point that inflated and stretched at unimaginable speeds. Then, at a more measurable rate, over the next 13.7 billion years to the still expanding cosmos we know today. Really. The astronomy, stacker exchange here. Before the Big Bang, the universe underwent a rapid expansion, doubling in size at least 80 times in less than a trillionth of a second. Who was there timing that thing?
Yes, a favorite talking point of many people who deny uniformitarianism in science. Who was timing that? Well, in fact, the universe itself did the timing measurement, because the events discussed left evidence in the structure of, for example, the cosmic microwave background. If Mr. Hovind would bother to click on any of the pages he's so thoroughly looking over the automated summaries of, I'm sure he'd even see this evidence. I wonder why he's not doing that.
This rapid inflation was fueled by a mysterious form of energy that permeated empty space itself, leaving the universe desolate and cold. I see. As the doubling of the universe ceased, the energy of the vacuum underwent a metamorphosis, transforming into particles. Does this sound like a fairy tale to anybody else? Yeah. Big Bang Theory explains how the universe began with an infinitely hot and dense single point that inflated and stretched. Wow, okay. What was before the Big Bang? Well, the whole universe started at a point smaller than a subatomic particle. So this is the Big Bang Theory, Dominic, okay? At 10 to the minus 43rd seconds. That's got 43 zeros behind it.
No, 10 to the power of minus 43 does not have 43 zeros after it. That's not how decimals work. It'd be 42 zeros before the 1. Did this guy seriously used to teach kids?
That's a tiny number, okay? Big Bang, here it is. Expanded from the size of an atom to a grapefruit. Wow. So you said, Dominic, we should learn about crystals. Well, let me have a little talk with you, Dominic, about crystals. I like crystals. We got a whole museum full of them here. There's quartz crystal, salt crystal, sodium chloride, ice crystal, water and oxygen. The Big Bang.
Ice crystals, water, and oxygen. That I'll attribute to a slip of the tongue, but someone who supposedly does professional presentations for decades now should really know better than to do a video unscripted, especially one where he clearly does not know the material offhand.
Produced primarily hydrogen, helium, and lithium, along with trace amounts of beryllium. Okay? So you got hydrogen, helium, lithium. No elements heavier than beryllium were formed during this period because the conditions required for their synthesis, higher densities and longer timescales, were not sustained. All heavier elements, including carbon, oxygen, and iron, were synthesized later in stars. Oh, so they're saying the Big Bang made these light elements, hydrogen, helium, and lithium, and the other ones formed later in the stars. Well, here's the hydrogen, helium, and lithium, first three elements, okay? There's a problem when you try to fuse when getting past iron, because anything before that is called exothermic. It gives off energy when they fuse. Endothermic means it requires energy to make them fuse. Chemistry was not my strong point, but I took chemistry in high school, okay?
I would suggest that Mr. Hovind search that final phrase on his previous slide, stellar nucleosynthesis. It might just explain his question about how heavier elements were formed through processes like shockwave nucleosynthesis, silicon burning, rapid neutron capture nucleosynthesis, etc.
And see, the first four meanings of this word evolution are purely religious. Cosmic evolution, the Big Bang, that's not science. Chemical evolution, the hydrogen, helium producing all the elements, Dominic, that's not science.
These phrases attempting to associate the factual, observed process of evolution with disparate fields and theories of science are a pathetically weak attempt at discrediting the study of changes in genetic material of populations of living creatures. These phrases can only be a part of a religion insofar as Mr. Hovind defines them as part of a religion, because no scientist is forced to accept those labels as descriptors of any field of scientific theory or study. This is a very basic straw man.
That's a religion. I'll use small words and pictures to help you understand. In the fictitious fairy tale about the Big Bang, the lighter elements were produced. They expanded away faster than the speed of light.
Wrong. Energy and matter in space-time cannot exceed the speed of light. This was proven over 100 years ago. Space-time itself can expand and thus dislocate two frames of reference faster than the speed of light, but that's very different than what Mr. Hovind just claimed.
That's what the books all say. Dominic, this means that in a tiny fraction of a second, they're getting farther away from each other. The longer you wait, the farther away they get. Oh, okay. So in 1 minute, they are light years apart from each other. These little tiny particles, hydrogen atoms, helium atoms, light years apart, okay? Then these light elements had enough gravity to pull themselves into a huge clump. Dominic, they're getting further apart the longer you wait. How are they going to pull themselves together?
As the summarizations Mr. Hovind skimmed earlier mentioned, energy and matter in the universe just after cosmic inflation were packed incredibly densely. Further, the summarizations also mentioned that at the time the force expanding the universe was continually converting into particles. So even if the matter was going faster than light, which remember is an assumption in this scenario, more energy is being converted into matter in the expanding areas of space-time. Now, as for the distribution of matter in the early universe, this is also addressed by cosmic inflation, noting that the process of space-time expanding would smooth out everything, leaving only small quantum fluctuations to make local differences in density. As the universe continues to expand at a slower rate, these fluctuations provide the changes in density of matter necessary to initiate star formation.
To fuse into a star. The stars then created the heavier ones. You see, Dominic, when you have the Big Bang, some particles go that way, some particles go that way. You're telling me they're going to get back together? Maybe this will help with a picture. The spokes on your wheel. Maybe you're riding a two-wheeler, I don't know by now. Might help you. the spokes are further away from here than they are back here. So the longer you wait, the further apart they get. How are they going to get together? When a hand grenade explodes, the fragments get further apart with time. In your fairy tale Big Bang, the fragments will never get together to make stars or anything else.
I think it's pretty clear that Mr. Hovind neither understands cosmological models of the early universe nor wishes to. None of this video so far has had anything to do with evolution, by the way, so I wonder if he's going to bring that up at all.
So you're saying the silicon, oxygen got together to make quartz? Let's study crystals, okay? Let's see, silicon and oxygen, interesting. Salt crystals, halite, okay? You got chlorine and sodium, okay? I agree. Ice crystals. Here we have hydrogen, helium, lithium, exploding, getting further and further apart, but they got back together to make oxygen. And let's see, sodium, okay? And silicon. Well, this is all before iron, so these are exothermic reactions, okay? Then we got chlorine, sodium chloride, halite crystals, salt, okay? So how did you get this sodium and this chlorine from the Big Bang when these elements are getting further apart? The longer you wait, the worse the problem gets for you guys. Yes, elements heavier than iron can be fused, but the process is endothermic. It takes in heat, okay? But you got to add energy. It requires an input of energy rather than releasing energy. Fusion reactions that produce elements heavier than iron do not provide net energy gain. They consume energy, which can destabilize a star's core. So if they could form these things, it would tear the star apart.
Gee, I wonder what a supernova might be.
Because iron 56 has the highest binding energy per nucleon, making it the most stable nucleus. Attempting to fuse iron or heavier elements results in a nucleus with lower binding energy, which necessitates energy input to overcome the Coulomb repulsion between nuclei. It's from physics.stack exchange. So, Dominic, where was the matter before the Big Bang?
Malformed question containing the assumptions that matter existed during the Big Bang, that the concept of time prior to the Big Bang is coherent, and that matter didn't arise afterwards. Each of these assumptions is either wrong or unprovable, and all of them fly in the face of predictions made by the models Mr. Hovind is unsuccessfully trying to disprove.
Where did the energy come from to make it bang?
Well, we now see that Mr. Hovind also doesn't understand thermodynamics alongside cosmology. The energy in the universe that was present at the time of the Big Bang was already within the universe. There's no indication that the universe is a system where energy can be added, or that there are or have ever been any locations outside of the universe.
Where did space come from to bang?
There's multiple hypotheses about how the universe came into its form during the time of the Big Bang. Now, even if all the current hypotheses on the emergence of the universe are wrong, what exactly would be wrong with the position of, I don't know? I've never seen a religious apologist explain what's wrong with that.
Bang into? Where did time come from? 13.
Space and time are not two separate things. They are aspects of the structural contents of the universe referred to as space-time. The human concept of time is much more narrow than space-time in general because it is based on how orderly a system is. This question is also malformed because time isn't limited to any particular place. Time can't come from somewhere any more than a location can fail to exist at midnight.
13.772 billion years ago. What was going around at 14 billion years ago? Before the Big Bang. Huh? Gangster, this is live. Joseph, you alive over there?
Another malformed question, again based on the assumption that it's coherent to speak of time prior to the universe existing. This question is meaningless anyway, because even if the universe sprung forth from nothing, as many apologists imply the Big Bang Theory claims, which it doesn't, there'd be no locations for time to apply to.
Okay. How did the rapidly expanding atoms get together? You guys, you want us to teach this like it's part of science. It's not part of science. The Big Bang is a religion. Gangster, this is live.
Okay. Anyway. So, this next question is worded incredibly poorly. Taking its literal meaning, asks about atoms growing in size rather than atoms becoming more spread apart in space-time. As for the Big Bang being a religion, I'd like to see any definition of religion that manages to include the Big Bang, while excluding what Mr. Hovind considers to be quote-unquote real science, because every definition of religion I know of is either overly broad from vagueness or wouldn't include the Big Bang.
Where did gravity come from?
Finally, a legitimate question. While a particular theory of the origins and functioning of gravity on all scales of measurement is yet to be weeded out from the number of hypotheses available on it, the confirmation of the Higgs boson existing points to a decently specific understanding of how it works. Gravity, just like the more familiar forms of energy and matter, is an emergent phenomenon from the formation of space-time during universal expansion. If the question is meant to be read more literally, I will point out that gravity, just like time, is inseparable from space, which would make that version of the question incoherent.
Why are the particles even attracted to each other? Is it gravitational attraction? Is it electromagnetic attraction? What is it? Where did the laws of physics come from? Who made the law of gravity? Why?
I'm certain he just said who made the law of gravity, but it really sounded like he said who ate the law of gravity. Anyway, the laws of physics are descriptors made by people to communicate how a particular physical phenomenon functions. These functions being understandable to people doesn't automatically imply that a mind was involved in their formation, no matter how much some apologists wish to insist that natural equals random.
Why are particles attracted? Huh? Where did the energy come from for the endothermic reactions to fuse past iron?
I will repeat that looking into stellar nucleosynthesis and the formation of supernovae hold the answer to this particular non-problem.
And why do you consider your story to be science?
The characterization of the Big Bang model as a story is rather curious, but irrelevant. The Big Bang Theory is scientific because it is a set of hypotheses tested against the real world and affirmed by those tests. That is the core of the scientific method, and thus science as a whole.
It's not science. Dominic, you said we should learn about crystal formation. I love studying that. You need to learn that element formation is not only hypothetical, it's not even theoretical, and certainly not established science.
This is a spectacular show of dishonesty. Mr. Hovind has been for many years now told repeatedly what the scientific method is, what terminology applies to which fields of science, and what claims cosmology in particular contains. The usage of both hypothetical and theoretical in the second sentence here in particular is very devious because there's no distinction if either word is being used in their unique technical sense or their synonymous everyday conversational sense.
See, a hypothesis is a guess. You can make a hypothesis about anything. If you find some evidence to support it, it becomes a theory. If the theory is never disproven, it's considered to be a law in science. It's actually a belief that Big Bang and evolution is. Like many religions have, they have belief, that's fine. Would you help us get the Big Bang out of all publicly funded schools, parks, museums, etc., on the grounds that it's state-funded religion?
There is no definition of belief that could include the Big Bang Theory, and yes, despite Mr. Hovind's insistence otherwise, it is still a theory, while excluding any other given part of science. The state-funded religion bit is a rather sad attempt to entice those who voice preference for a separation of church and state. There is no conflict of the Big Bang or evolution on that front, because neither of those scientific theories are religions.
Would you help us, Jim? Okay. These first 5 are purely religious. Joseph, they hate me for saying this. I don't know any other creationists that were doing it.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and suggest many other creationists aren't stupid enough to pretend that those phrases are applicable to science. I'm sure Mr. Hovind sees a big conspiracy against his truth.
Evolution believers go into panic mode when you try to include the first 5 as part of the evolution religion, because they know there's no scientific evidence for these crucial steps. But they want you to pay for it to be taught like it's part of science. That we're doing it. Dominic.
No, never mind. Anyway.
Learn about crystal formation and seeding. Be glad to. Call up anytime. Let's have a debate on that. Okay? Okay, Joseph, questions you got?
And we end that section of the video without even an attempt to address the contents of the comment shown, or a justification for equivocating evolution with anything other than a frequency of changes in the genetic material of populations of living creatures. For a video claiming evolution is dumb, that commentary was incredibly dumb.